Howdy, folks. I hope you're all doing great today. So, I want to talk a little bit about the Wild West genre and the time period and how it's really affected my life and how it's changed my life for the better and how it's really impacted me and really helped me. So, obviously, you know my YouTube channel is called The Aspie Cowboy, and of course, the Aspie part of that name is for my diagnosis. I was diagnosed with Asperger's about 11 years ago. And the cowboy is, of course, represents my love for cowboys in the Wild West era. So it all started pretty much about 14 years ago when a video game called Red Dead Redemption came out, and I remember I watched gameplay of it, like the trailers and stuff before it came out, and I remember thinking it really looked cool, it looked unique, something I had not seen in ever in my life. It just looked different, the whole riding on the horses and all that kind of stuff. And I ended up getting the game at midnight, on day one, or I don't know. I guess right as soon as they released the game, I got it right at the store at the GameStop. And on that very first day, I just remember at night, I should say, I played it for a few hours. I still remember, even though it was 14 years ago, I still remember playing it and just spending so much time just riding on my horse, and it was just so cool. And over the months and over the years of playing it, I really just fell in love with that whole era, just seeing the landscapes, the character types, just there's just so much. I could probably spend hours talking about how much I love westerns, although I'm not going to do that today, but I just really fell in love with that whole era. And then to top it off, I was already enjoying the game, but then my dad and my uncle introduced me to the Western movies and the TV shows that they used to watch when they were kids, because back when they were young, when they were watching TV, the Westerns were a huge thing. They came out with all new shows and movies and stuff all the time. So they showed me like Bonanza and Gunsmoke, some of those really popular shows from back then, and I watched them, and it just really grew my love for this genre even more, because I just thought, man, like, not only was I playing this video game and I was playing as a cowboy, or just playing in this era, but then I was watching these movies, and it really just made me. I don't know how to describe it, but it really was. It's kind of like a magical type of feeling in a way, kind of like how little kids feel magical about Disney World or Disneyland, and these magical fantasy places. Well, I guess you could say the Wild West, like, was kind of like that for me in a way. And I just really fell in love with the West, the desert, the mountains, the plains, all that stuff. It just looked so amazing, and I just really enjoyed it. And it really helped me a lot when I was depressed and when I was going through a lot of problems, because my dad would be gone a lot because he was driving the bus, and he'd sometimes have to be gone out of town. And I was having some problems with my home life. I'm not really going to get into that, but I was having some problems at home. I was going through a lot of depression and really just not in a good headspace. So these westerns, they really helped me stay positive. They made me feel really good. And you know it's it's hard to describe to people who don't understand it, but they really carried me out of a dark place. And seeing these people, these men and women, overcome these crazy circumstances, being stranded in the desert, being kidnapped, being dealing with the Indians or Native Americans, dealing with all these different things. I mean, if you've seen a Western, you know all the different types of scenarios that they could encounter back then. And just, it really made me realize that my problems in life weren't nearly as big as theirs, because, they didn't, you know, it just really put my life into perspective, and it really made me admire the people who lived through this time period. They didn't. I mean, right now it's July, it's hot as heck out here, but if you were out, 150 years ago, if you were out in the desert or wherever, even if you were up here and it was hot, you didn't have air conditioning. And so it really made me admire these people. It really made me just amazed that these people went through all these hardships, death and suffering and just so many bad things. And it just made me it really just puts things into perspective, and it made me realize that if these people could get through, some of these people could get through such hardships and such horrible circumstances, then whatever I was going through in life wasn't nearly as big of a deal, And so that's how I still feel even nowadays. If something happens, I might be upset or whatever, but I realize if I watch a Western and I see all the stuff that happens, it really makes me realize that my life isn't that bad, and that if these people can overcome that stuff, then so could I, I kind of think of them as heroes in a way, like, how some people like watch superhero stuff and, they're not real heroes, but like when you watch some of these westerns and these, like John Wayne or some of these characters, they act like heroes, and even though they're just characters or fake, but it really does inspire me in a way, And then, what was it? 6 years ago, another game came out called Red Dead Redemption 2, which was a sequel to the first Red Dead game, or the first Red Dead Redemption game. And it just made me love Westerns so much even more, And the graphics look so much better. It just solidified my love in westerns a lot more. And last year I got to go to Scottsbluff, Nebraska. Well, actually, we went through Nebraska, we went to Wyoming, and also Colorado. So I got to go to these three western states, and it was such an amazing, it's hard to describe, but it was such an awesome experience to get to see these places that you see in westerns that I've seen for all these years, and actually see them in person. We drove up that big butte or whatever it's called, it's not a mountain. I can't remember what they're called, but the bluffs, yeah. We drove up one of them, and because they had a path for it, and we drove it up, and it was just such an amazing experience. I took pictures of the view from up there. It was just so amazing, and I'd really love to live out there if I could, although I don't think that's gonna happen. But it really does. It's hard, like I said, it's hard to describe to people who don't understand it like I do. But just like I said, the best way I could describe it is like going to Disneyland or Disney World for a kid. It's magical. Like, I know it's not really magic, but in my mind, it just feels like it. Just when we were on that highway, the interstate. Then all of a sudden, once we got past one road, then it just opened up and turned into only just plains, like wide open spaces, not many trees, and that just lit something in me that just really made me so passionate about how amazing the West is, and how such a great genre it is. And so I know to you, you might not understand a lot of this, but to me, it really is such an amazing genre. It's such a beautiful part of the country, and I'm hoping to go back there sometime in the future. But yeah, that was basically the long and the short of my experience with westerns. And like I said, I could probably talk for hours about how much I love them, but um that's pretty much it for now. If you have more questions about my interest in westerns and stuff, then feel free to let me know. And I hope you enjoyed the video. And if you like westerns, let me know. And thanks. Stay tuned for the next video. Bye.